A Chinese AI lab just built a model that beats GPT-4o on coding, math, and reasoning benchmarks, and it costs 95% less to run. Not a rumor, not a leak. Verified numbers, published results, live API access. OpenAI spent billions. DeepSeek did it for pocket change, and the AI world is in full panic mode right now. DeepSeek R2 just dropped, and it is not a small update. This is a fundamental shift in who controls the AI race. In the next 8 minutes, I'm going to break down exactly what DeepSeek R2 is, how it was built so efficiently, where it beats GPT-4o, and where it doesn't, what the open source angle means for you as a developer or builder, and why this changes the cost curve for every AI product on the market. No hype, no fanboy energy, just the facts and what they mean for your workflow. Let's start with the basics, because there's a lot of noise out there. DeepSeek R2 is a large language model built by DeepSeek AI, a research lab backed by the Chinese quantitative hedge fund Highflyer. The R in R2 stands for reasoning. This is their second-generation reasoning model, built specifically to compete with OpenAI's O1 and O3 series. It uses a mixture of experts architecture, meaning not all parameters activate at once. Only the relevant experts fire for a given task. The result? Massive capability at a fraction of the compute cost. The base model reportedly has around 600 billion total parameters, but only activates about 37 billion at inference time. Compare that to GPT-4o, which runs all active parameters every single time. DeepSeek R2 thinks in a chain of thought process, meaning it reasons through problems step by step before committing to an answer. Exactly like OpenAI's O-series models. On AMA 2024, a hardcore math Olympiad benchmark, DeepSeek R2 scored 79.8%. GPT-4o scored 9.3%. That is not a typo. On SWE Bench Verified, a real-world software engineering test, DeepSeek R2 hit 49.2%. That puts it in elite company. So right out of the gate, this is a serious frontier-level model, not a toy. This is the part that makes Silicon Valley uncomfortable. DeepSeek trained R2 for an estimated $5 to $6 million. GPT-4 cost over $100 million. Some estimates put it even higher. So how did they do it? 3 major innovations. First, mixture of experts, which we already covered. Fewer active parameters per token means lower compute per inference. Second, multi-head latent attention. This is a custom attention mechanism that compresses the key value cache dramatically. In plain English, the model uses memory more efficiently than a standard transformer. That cuts both training and serving costs. Third, and this is the big one, they used reinforcement learning from scratch without relying on supervised fine-tuning as the primary driver. They let the model develop reasoning behavior through pure reward signal. That eliminated the need for massive labeled datasets, which are expensive to produce. DeepSeek also trained on a custom cluster of NVIDIA H800 chips, lower spec than H100s, which are export restricted in China. They had to innovate around the hardware ceiling, and they did. The takeaway here is brutal. The moat that OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic thought they had, massive GPU clusters and billions in capital, is not as wide as they believed. Efficiency beats scale if you're smart enough. Let's go benchmark by benchmark so you can see the real picture. On Math 500, a standardized math reasoning suite, DeepSeek R2 scores 97.3%. OpenAI O1 scores 96.4%. Edge goes to DeepSeek. On Codeforces, a competitive programming platform, DeepSeek R2 hits a rating of 2029. That puts it in the top 3% of human coders on the platform. On MMLU, the broad academic knowledge benchmark, DeepSeek R2 lands at 90.8%, competitive with but not dramatically above GPT-4o's 88.7%. So knowledge retrieval? Near parity. But reasoning and math? DeepSeek pulls ahead clearly. Where does GPT-4o still win? Multimodal tasks. Image understanding, visual reasoning, real-time voice. OpenAI has a meaningful lead there. DeepSeek R2 is primarily a text and code model right now. Also, GPT-4o's API ecosystem, plugins, and integrations are more mature. If you're building a product today, OpenAI's tooling is still smoother. But here's the thing. DeepSeek R2's API costs about 14 cents per million input tokens. GPT-4o costs $5 per million. That's a 35x cost difference. For high-volume applications, data pipelines, automated agents, batch processing, that number is not academic. It fundamentally changes your unit economics. Here's where things get really interesting for builders. DeepSeek released the model weights publicly. You can download R1, their previous version, right now on Hugging Face. R2 weights are expected to follow the same open pattern. This means you can run DeepSeek locally. You can fine-tune it on your own data. You can deploy it inside your own infrastructure without any data leaving your servers. For enterprise use cases where data privacy is non-negotiable, healthcare, legal, finance, this is a massive deal. Tools like Ollama already support DeepSeek R1 for local deployment. You can run a quantized version on a high-end consumer GPU. A 7B distilled version of DeepSeek R1 runs on an M2 MacBook Pro. Think about what that unlocks. Offline AI agents, private coding assistants, custom fine-tuned models for specific industries, all running locally, all for free. The distilled versions are also seriously capable. DeepSeek R1 7B outperforms GPT-4o on several coding benchmarks, despite being a fraction of the size. Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google are all closed source. Their models are locked behind APIs. DeepSeek's open-weight approach is a direct threat to that business model. And it's forcing the entire industry to rethink what proprietary even means in 2025. All right, let's bring it home. What do you actually do with this information? If you're a developer, test DeepSeek R2 on your hardest coding tasks right now. Use the API through DeepSeek's platform or access it through OpenRouter, which already has it live. Compare outputs side by side with GPT-4o. For math, logic chains, and multi-step code generation, there's a real chance R2 gives you better results at 1/30th the cost. If you're building AI agents or automation pipelines, run the numbers on API pricing. A workflow that costs you $500 a month on GPT-4o might cost $15 on DeepSeek R2. That's not optimization, that's transformation. If you're a business owner or product manager, you now have leverage. Even if you stay with OpenAI, DeepSeek's existence pressures OpenAI to lower prices and ship faster. That's already happening. OpenAI slashed O1 API pricing after DeepSeek's initial release. Competition is working. If you care about AI safety and geopolitics, yes, there are real questions about a model trained in China, data handling, and censorship on politically sensitive topics. DeepSeek R2 has documented refusals on topics like Tiananmen Square. For most technical use cases, that doesn't matter. For sensitive applications, you need to factor it in. The bottom line, DeepSeek R2 is real, it's already reshaping the AI market. DeepSeek R2 is not just another model drop. It's proof that the AI race is global, that efficiency beats scale, and that open source is a weapon. Benchmark numbers, cost structure, architecture innovations, it all points in one direction. The ChatGPT monopoly is over. The best AI tool for your use case in 2025 might not come from San Francisco. Stay sharp. If this was useful, subscribe. I post every week on AI tools that actually work.